Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin, and welcome to this week's episode of Podiatry Marketing. With me is my good friend, all the way on the other side of the world, Jim McDannald. How are you doing this morning, Jim?
Tyson, things are great. It's a lovely day, just having a great time. So nothing better than to spend some time talking some podiatry marketing with you today.
I really do. And you were saying that recently our numbers are really starting to increase as well. So more people are tuning in to Podiatry Marketing Podcast, and so they should. And anyone listening to this, make sure you tell your podiatry friends, only the ones you like, that this show exists and help them grow their business. The ones that you don't like, you do them anyway.
Yeah, no, it's been fun growing the numbers with you. Obviously, I think there's a need for podiatry marketing information out there, and if we can, send some people in the right direction, having some more success in their practice, that makes us both feel like we're doing a job well done. So,
what is the topic of discussion today?
So today is what is a marketing audit, and this is something kind of in the process of when you're looking at potential options as far as service providers or what's all out there. It's kind of a first step towards developing a marketing plan, but also having a thorough assessment of kind of what you're currently doing from a professional or from an expert.
If somebody contacted you and they said, I want to do a marketing audit, what do you tell them that it actually means?
Yeah, for sure. I think when people kind of either contact me or they listen to this show or they're just kind of out about in the world, right? Like when they hear the word podiatry marketing or marketing plan, probably it's a different definition for somebody that has never done it before, just out of practice or has been in practice for a long time. So there's kind of three types of people. There's kind of a spectrum, I would say, as far as marketing knowledge or sophistication. There's one group that's like, I don't even know where to start. Like I know that I probably should have a website. I never really looked into it before. That group of people is, they think that maybe market could be helpful for them, but they don't really have any clue or any idea about not only like how much to spend, but like who to go with, like what are the different options available, what are the technologies and tools available. So that's kind of one side of the spectrum. I would say the other side of the spectrum is someone that is extremely knowledgeable, or at least thinks they have an idea of exactly what they need and how fast they should be getting that, as far as what the budget should be. Someone who's, if with enough time, any podiatrist can be knowledgeable on this topic, and maybe they've had multiple experiences with the different marketing providers, so they have a general sense of what the market is. But I'd say most people are kind of somewhere in the middle of that spectrum, especially the younger people coming into practice. They've dealt with social media, or they realize that online visibility and awareness is something that's really important to a lot of aspects of this kind of digital culture we're living in. So yeah, it's kind of like three kind of groups, but it's kind of this spectrum of like someone doesn't know anything or where to get started to someone who's like had either great experiences or bad experiences with all types of marketing providers.
What you said too about the person that may not know where to start, or it feels they don't know anything. And I just want people to understand, if you don't understand marketing, or you're not sure how to market your business, or you've been trying businesses not really working, there's nothing wrong with putting your hand up and saying, I don't know how to do that. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. You shouldn't feel silly about it. There's nothing wrong with reaching out and actually getting help. To me, it's no different. If someone didn't know how to do nail surgery, would you just go and do nail surgery not knowing how to do nail surgery? You do that. So you go, no, I want to do nail surgery, so I'm going to be taught how to do nail surgery so I can perform it properly.
Exactly. That's well put. I think that's a good example. And then, like you talked about, there's some different so why would someone want just to do an audit, right? Why not just jump into having services right away? And I would say that starts with, you want an opportunity to kind of like fill out a relationship or get a good sense of what it would be like to work with someone. And if you sign that year contract off the bat, someone cold called your office, said, we'll build you a website, we'll do all this marketing for you, and you like sign on the dotted line for a year, you have no idea what they're going to provide you. I mean, you don't know what it's going to be like to work with them. Like, have they, maybe they say they've done this before, but I think having an audit, what that does, kind of by assessing your current online presence, assessing, and we'll get into specifics as far as what the audit actually is or an assessment is, but it helps you kind of like test drive a relationship with a service provider, but also see if someone's the right fit for you. Do they work at a cadence that you're happy with? Do they provide good work? I think that's the kind of the first thing that's important as far as like why consider getting an audit instead of just jumping in with a service provider just off the bat.
Important, because I have heard people say, "Oh, I'm now using X company to help me with my marketing," and usually whenever I hear that, it's always the same thing. It's always online. I was on a cruise a couple of months back. But I was one of the speakers there in this little in the marketing sort of section, and there was myself and there were 3 other people up there, and the other 3 were all representing different online marketing companies, and every question that was asked that we had to provide, oh, how would we handle this or how would we do that? Every answer was based around Facebook, Google, Instagram. That was the only thing they had. I'm going, at no stage have you gone back and sort of like what you're talking about, do an audit on what do they really need? Right. Because I'm sure when you're talking to a client, the same as when I'm talking with somebody, the first thing I want to know is what do they love doing in podiatry? What do they want more of? What do they hate doing? So if you don't like routine podiatry care, then stop putting it in any of your marketing. So is that the sort of questions you'd be asking?
That's
as well?
totally the type of answer, the type of questions I want to have answered by the people I'm doing an assessment with. I think the thing that, like, sometimes it's the podiatrists that want to jump to services, but sometimes it's the service providers, right? Like they have this, like, for lack of a better term, cookie cutter solution that they think they think they already know that you're a foot doctor, right? So you do these like 20 diagnoses and these 20 treatments. So they've got a library of content based off those things that they're just going to like repurpose or reformat a little bit for you and put on your website, and everything's going to be good for $500 a month, right? But it's like you said, Tyson, like you really need to have a clear understanding of the value and the type of results you want to generate, right? And that starts with making sure there's alignment between the service provider and that they understand and are working towards your specific goals and objectives, right? Not like when I was in practice, like I wanted to do more like sports medicine type things and like runners and those things. That was interesting to me. But if I jump straight to services without telling my someone in this assessment like what I want more of, like you're going to get the same website as the clinic down the street, right? So it's a matter of just like, sometimes I like the term you have to slow down to speed up. This is sometimes what feels like a slowdown, like $1,000 or $2,000 for an assessment. Like, why would I want to?
Some people need to stop.
Oh yeah, stop for sure.
They don't need to. It's not just slowing. Some people just need to stop doing what they're doing, take a big deep breath, and restart, and build momentum.
No, that's perfect. I mean, like, but you look at it, right? So if people look at a bill, right, you say, why would I want to like slow down or stop and spend $1,000 or $2,000 on assessment? That makes no sense. Why would I want to do that? Well, that same person probably would have no issue with spending $500 a month for a year, which ends up being about $6,000, right? And you maybe didn't have a plan.
Yeah.
They built a website that wasn't right for you. So like it does help to kind of slow it down and kind of bring it back to basics and making sure that expectations are also aligned, right? If the service provider is not providing the level of service you're happy with, or it's a matter of just kind of getting on the same page there, that's really, really important.
The biggest difference too between somebody working with just a service provider or the difference between, say, working with you or doing like a brainstorming session with me is if said to the other service provider, tell me what a podiatrist does. Until you hear some of the dumber answers that come out of their mouth. Now, if you ask you, what does a podiatrist do? Oh, I assume you could probably answer that, Jim, the same as if they said to me, Tyson, what does a podiatrist do? I got a rough idea because we're podiatrists. That's what sets us apart from a lot of those other people. So, and I know the people that you have worked with already who are getting great results. I know when I do a brainstorming session with somebody, then brainstorming session, what they paid me to do that session, they will make back tenfold very, very quickly. Whereas if someone who doesn't have that ground or has not worked with a lot of podiatrists before, it's, well, they say it's like pushing shit up a hill with a pointy stick. It's really hard.
Well,
Do you have that saying in America?
I mean, it makes sense to me what you're talking about there, but I haven't used that in pleasant conversation in a while, to be honest. But I like it. I'll try to use it at my parents' house and see what they have to say. But
yeah, well, it's like, what do they say? Like paddling a canoe with a wire paddle.
Or you're trying to paddle up Schitt's Creek, or I don't know, go against the current. I don't know. It definitely is. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, pointing shit up a hill with a pointed stick is really hard. I've tried that.
Yeah, you do that. That's a bad look.
No. It was my dad told me this, but I had read it somewhere else. Two of the hardest things to do is climb a fence leading towards you and kissing a girl leading away. Talking about that may be edited out.
That's okay. That's okay. As far as like the next step, I think that's really important is that like, why doing this is that, especially if you're someone who's done a lot of marketing already, like there can be some concerns about like, well, I've already tried this, or I did Google Ads, or I did something. And like on a surface level, if you tried some type of marketing that didn't work, there's a chance that does not work for you. But what we find a lot of times, especially Google Ads is a perfect example, is that there's certain thresholds you have to meet in order to really get results. So, going back over your previous marketing efforts to hear what worked, what didn't work, what you didn't like about a relationship with another. If you're working with someone like Tyson or myself, it's good to hear what didn't work so we can try to make sure that, we try to, not retread those same steps. But even if someone, you'd had Google Ads before, it doesn't mean they don't necessarily work. So I think it is important to keep an open mind, but also just have an opportunity to kind of like vent a little bit about what you didn't like or what wasn't great about your last experience. Because sometimes there's just not a good fit between the marketing expert or the service provider and the practice. So it's trying to find those kind of win-win relationships, which is really important. I'd also say that assessing your current online presence is huge, right? So like, how does your website look overall? Does it highlight your expertise? Is it easy for people to make appointments? There's all these kind of things that are like, I have a checklist of things I go through with every patient or every clinic that I work with to make sure we're hitting all these things that will really, having an outside perspective on these things. You think what button to hit on your website, but is it visually distinguishable from the overall color scheme of your website? Does it stand out? Does your social stand out? Your ads read well? Are they generic? Are they utilizing an unoptimized way of using Google Ads? Like, these are things that are answered during these assessments about your online presence to see where those opportunities are. And it's not that you just jump in and fix them right away, but at least you have an overall kind of list of things you can tackle or address moving forward.
Back to what you just said too about the relationships. When if you've had a bad experience before, it's no different to other relationships. If you've male, female, whichever way you swing, if that has not, you got a funny smile on your face when I said that. If you're in a relationship, you don't all of a sudden go, that's it, I'm going to be alone the rest of my life. You just know that wasn't a great relationship, so you need to move on. And you also will go through your mind what was good about it and what wasn't good about it. So then when you go create that next relationship, you have experience, and hopefully the next one works out. To me, working with people like us is exactly the same thing. If you ever had a business coach before and they sucked, doesn't mean they all suck. If you feel that, it was a waste of money and I was ripped off, doesn't mean they're all a waste of money and you're going to feel ripped off. No different working with you in the online world, because there's some dodgy. No, you're not one of them, Jim.
Well,
so
I appreciate that, but even
otherwise, we'd call this the Dodgy Podiatry Marketing Podcast, which we don't.
I mean, think of a name change. I mean, I'm up to discussing. I'm always up to improve our marketing for our podcast. So, but
I think through marketing podcast. I wonder what they're talking about.
No, for sure. I think you bring up a good point, and I think it's also important to note that, I'm assuming you'll agree with me when I say this, but I may not be the right fit for everybody, right? And maybe you're not the right fit for everybody. I think we definitely have conversations with folks and try to see if there is a mutual, there's a feel right. But at the same time, if it's not a great fit for the practice or for me, then there's no hard feelings there. But you have to keep kind of exploring these different opportunities within promoting your practice and really highlighting your expertise is really crucial.
Yeah. So with when you're doing like an audit, and how I approach things as well, but how important is it to do an analysis of like the local competitors in the area? What are they doing?
No, I think that's really, really important. I mean, you can learn a lot about a local area by seeing, are people running Google ads? What do their Google ads look like? What do competitors or other local podiatry clinics, how are they their websites? Like what are they highlighting as far as their areas of expertise? Are they that one stop, we do every podiatry thing shop, or are they very clearly focused on diabetic wound care or surgery, or maybe there's a local orthopedic surgical clinic in your area that's really highlighting the surgical skills of a podiatrist they've hired. So it's really important to, it's just good to know what else is out there from an online perspective to make sure that, like I said, along with the second half of things is kind of a marketing plan, or like a Lego block style of where are the best opportunities for return on investment of your marketing dollars. And when you know what else is going out there, if someone's spending, $4,000 a month on Google ads and like they're always number one and they're on point, then maybe it's time to it wouldn't be a great idea initially to get in there, or you'd have to have it would kind of reset realistic expectations about how many new patients that might drive a month. But it's just, definitely talking, competitors can be a huge way to understand those real opportunities in your local area.
Assessing what your competitors are doing, but don't they spend too much time really watching what they're doing all the time. But you must be aware, because back in the day when we used to say advertise on TV, and in regional areas, still in Australia, it is super cheap to advertise on TV at certain times. It's still a good platform when used the right way. But I remember when we stopped advertising on TV, and then a competitor started advertising on TV, but their ad that they did was almost a complete rip-off of what ours used to be that I'd run for like 5 years. And we're getting these calls. Ask me, how'd you find ours? I saw you on TV. I saw you on TV. I'm going, we haven't advertised for a year. But that's great. But then all of a sudden I was watching TV. I saw their commercial. I went, oh my God. They just copied what we've done. And because people were ingrained, that's what Pro Arch Podiatry did. As soon as they saw the ad, they just assumed it was us. So I think this is why it's really important to work with someone who's not just doing a cookie cutter approach and putting the same information out there. Because if your competitor's already done it, or currently they do it bigger and better, then I think all you're doing is helping to promote them.
I mean, you had such good brand awareness with your campaign there that they couldn't help but remember that it was you. So that's a pretty impressive thing. I will also say that it's really important that talking about branding, that you know the names of the clinics around your local area. I recently conducted an audit and an assessment with someone, and the same marketing company has apparently named clinics within about 25 miles of each other, almost the exact same thing through a rebrand. And you don't really know that unless you can kind of assess the situation. So you're wondering why you're not showing up for the name of your brand or the name of your clinic, and maybe it's because someone else has a similar clinic not too far away from you in the same state. So it is having these kind of there can be some eye-opening moments associated with doing these assessments. But I really think it's important that the assessment is hugely important. But if you're working with a service provider or a marketing expert or someone, they should provide you a downloadable, a link to a Google Doc that you can have after the fact. Obviously, myself, after I provide an assessment and a plan for someone, if it feels like it's a good fit, then I can be that person that helps execute those things. But everyone, depending on budget or what you want to do, someone should be able to give you, you paid $1,000 or $2,000 for the assessment. You should have this kind of playbook along with the assessment to know what the highest return on investment opportunities are. So you can just really, dollar for dollar, make the best decisions to help grow your practice and make it as successful as possible.
I think podiatrists need to, when we said before, you said, slowing down. I think a lot of podiatrists do need just stop, reassess what they're doing, and you mentioned what's the return they're getting on their investment. And I've heard people say, "Oh, I would do marketing. To me, it's a waste of money. I don't get a return." Well, then you've got to change. You need to change the way that you're actually approaching it. If you're not sure what to do, then you need to talk to someone that knows what they're doing, who used to be a podiatrist. Here, that keeps going overhead.
I cannot. I can just hear the microwave in my parents' kitchen.
Okay. So it keeps flying overhead really low. Well, the next door neighbour is doing something stupid. Because usually
I kind of
can hear. I think when I'm talking, you won't hear it. So when I do the edit, you won't heur it while I'm actually talking. But I reckon. And when you're talking, I cut out the part like. Now it drives me nuts.
That happens.
So Jim, where should anyone who's listening to this now, what is the next step? What do you reckon they should be doing?
Yeah, I think it's once you're ready to kind of get into marketing and you're looking to have, take the kind of first serious step towards developing a plan and kind of understanding the local landscape in your local area. Definitely you can reach out to me. Definitely if you want to have something more on the lines of, some coaching, you need to be coached up a little bit. Someone to, who will lend an ear and give you a podiatrist, business perspective. I think Tyson is fantastic for that.
I'll help you make money. That's what I help people do. I help people make money in their business. But when it comes to the actual applying the marketing stuff, I don't do the work. That's where I would direct them your way to do, especially with the whole online Google, that whole world I don't touch. I love the business and systems and everything behind that, and also putting a marketing plan together. But when it comes to the implementation, I would much rather them talk to
I think it's much like this podcast. We have very complementary skills. We're both handsome, smart individuals, and
we are handsome bastards from way back. We've got perfect heads for audio.
Exactly. I got a face for radio for sure. But no, I think it's a matter of just like knowing where you're at in that journey of your marketing, and then reaching out to Tyson or myself, depending on what your needs are.
You got any closing comments, or is this?
I think it's a wrap for today, Tyson.
Good to talk to you again next week.
Sounds great,
Jim.
Tyson.